Okay, welcome back to another episode. And this is the McKinney Podcast. We celebrate what makes us unique by nature. And this episode, we have the privilege of being here with Miss DeAnna Stone. Oh man, where do we start? She is a graduate of Leadership McKinney class of 2025. Literally just wrapped that up a few weeks ago. Also a senior leader at Chestnut Square, involved in making the farmers market happen and weddings and events and historical buildings. Lady, you've got a lot going on. Welcome to the McKinney Podcast.
Thank you.
Man. Okay, where do we start? Can we just backstory this thing, Fred? What do you think?
We should have been recording. We should have been
We have been in the studio just chatty Cathying with DeAnna for, 15 minutes?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and I think our audience hears a lot of rambling from us anyway, so there may not been as much interest in the totally organic part where it's like the pre-episode.
We need to start a secondary podcast, McKinney Podcast Uncensored.
I'm going to leave that one alone. I'm not even going to go there. The uncensored word is a little bit of a touchy word. So, let's turn this thing off here. DeAnna Stone, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me today. It's an honor.
Yeah, this full transparency. I have never met you in person. We've never spoken in person. This is so fun. I love it. My curiosity is so high right now because where's this conversation going to go? Start us off with your background. How in the world did you find yourself at this chapter in life in McKinney, childhood, family, growing up, whatever you want to do? How did you find yourself to this chapter?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a military family. I was born in Hawaii. My father was in the military, so I have a deep respect for military individuals and families that serve our country. And growing up in a very, very small town, I went to school for theater, actually, and was a director for many, many, many theaters. I have volunteered at the McKinney Homeschool Christian Organization as their theater director since 2005. And then helped North Texas Performing Arts launch their academy in 2018, and then raised 4 children. And the dream was always to be in McKinney. Probably about 22 years ago, we would drive through the downtown streets, and my husband and I would point and dream and just desire to be in a town like this. And in 2022, all of my children had graduated and gotten married, and my husband was like, it's time for the dream. Let's move to McKinney. So I live in downtown McKinney now, and I love it. And we make it a community and a home, and it is everything that it says it is. And we absolutely love being here. And then shortly after that, I decided to maybe make a career change. Theater, I love telling stories. I love hearing stories. I love being involved in stories and creating stories. And so I joined Chestnut Square to help them tell their story and tell the McKinney story. So it's been a real honor. And regardless of your background, regardless of your heritage, McKinney is one you would want to adopt and carry with you. And so you just immediately become family. So it's a perfect spot for me.
Man, when I think of the quintessential McKinney experience, that Saturday morning strolling through downtown, stop and grab a coffee, maybe grab a little breakfast thing, and walk your way over to the farmer's market, stroll around, see some local artists, some local farmers and local businesses that are hawking their wares, and you've got the historic buildings sitting there from Chestnut Square. Gosh, there is not a more just quintessential McKinney thing than the casual downtown stroll to farmer's market in Chestnut Square. It's like, that is the essence of our city. Bravo.
Absolutely.
It doesn't get any more McKinney than that.
No, that is absolutely true. I mean, when you walk down there on the farmer's market and then connected with the downtown square, you immediately become part of a family. It creates an experience. It's not just where to buy your local groceries, but you're supporting local. You're supporting people that are creating their livelihood on that Saturday for 4 hours, which is something special that you're giving back to. And then so what I find interesting is some people are like, what's Chestnut Square? And I'm like, you're standing in the middle of it. Like, it's just where history started and where a group of women came together to make history and preservation really important. And it's continued to tell an amazing story through the years.
Talk about that for a little bit, because a lot of people may not be aware that Chestnut Square even exists. It really is this tiny little gem on a couple of blocks tucked in on the southeast side of the downtown square. And it's a wedding and event venue. It's a historical artifact. It's on the roster of historical places in our city. Like, there's a meeting and event space, obviously farmers market. There's so much there. Talk about that for a second. What the heck is Chestnut Square, and why should people care?
Yeah, absolutely. So, McKinney, the downtown area, was preserved by the community. I mean, they put their money and their dollars in that because they wanted to see that survive and thrive. And so Chestnut Square is no different. I mean, in 1973, a group of women came together, and the Delaney House, which is the yellow home on the corner of Chestnut, and the cottage were being compromised and potentially, taken down. And this group of women wanted to save those buildings and preserve history and show the unique. I don't think you can truly appreciate today unless you reflect on where you were yesterday. And then it gives you the hope for tomorrow. And so I think these women had the ability to see that. And they went before city council and they created a holiday home tour to raise money, and they bought those properties. And that was the beginning in 1973. And then in 77, they became an LLC. And they began moving historical buildings onto the property. The Fairs Home is the oldest standing home in McKinney from the mid-1800s. So you can truly see from the Taylor Inn, which was a 2-bit Taylor Inn where you could come and have breakfast and night stay and your clothes laundered. That was, the true Airbnb at that time, right? And so we have that on our property along with the Fairs Home, which is the oldest standing home. And it's pre-Civil War to 1850s to 1920s on our property. And then we have the chapel, which is a beautiful place to celebrate unions, and then the Dixie store and a reception hall. I mean, I'm in awe of the people that have invested their time and energy. It's a creation of love and community, and it really does reflect what we are all about in McKinney, which is what I absolutely love. And to bring a youth. Right now, our Prairie Adventure Camps are taking place. So a child can come in and dress in period clothing and carry out a day like they would have in the 1800s and, make pillowcases and churn butter and wash laundry. I mean, what better way to show a child how to appreciate the modernness of today than to show them what it was like for yesterday? And I think it's a way to put down our digital devices and engage and have authentic relationships in community. So it's super special.
Yeah, I love that, and so, I was one of those people who was like, I heard people talk about Chestnut Square, and, not long after we moved here in 2010, still trying to really build up the photography business, someone said, you should take that senior over there at Chestnut Square. And I was like, where's Chestnut Square? Mm-hmm. They're like, it was around the corner. And I was like, it is? And, I didn't realize how many times coming up McDonald or 5, whatever we call it there, that I'd passed by there and never even noticed it. And so, it literally is like walking back in time.
Absolutely.
Once you get back there. And now I've photographed, families, seniors, I've photographed wedding, rehearsal dinner, all those things there. And it's exactly what you said. It is such a unique place.
Absolutely.
So that prayer camp thing though, how many of the kids nowadays tap out on churning that butter before they even get started?
These kids love it. We had a really special moment on property about 2 weeks ago. A young lady and her mother were on property and they were taking pictures. And so we just engaged and said, what brings you to the property? And she was like, well, we've actually moved out of Texas, but it's my senior year and I wanted my senior pictures taken where I had Prairie Adventure Camp. And so we were like, let us open up the school for you. And so she had her senior pictures taken.
Thing.
And so I think that's the special story behind what it does is it creates memories and it creates connection. It also connects us to, our grandparents and those that are older, creating conversation of what was it like when you were growing up? What did you do? And once again, how can we really truly look at the future of tomorrow if we don't understand in a very short 150 years, like where we've actually been, which I think is something that's super important.
Absolutely. Yeah. Speaking of, time capsule stuff, tell us about the Dixie store.
Yeah, the Dixie store. So we are just about to paint it back to its original color from the 1940s. And so if you drive by right now, you see
original color. Everything back then was black and white. I've seen photos.
Yeah. You've seen the Truman Show, right?
Absolutely. Well, it was red. And so
how do you know that it was red?
We have pictures and photographs.
Alrighty.
Yeah,
So-
absolutely.
You can colorize black and white photos and just determine what the original colors were.
I've colorized many things. So like, oh, you didn't like your red dress? Blue.
Well, and we have individuals that were young children at the Dixie store. And so on our Historified podcast, we interviewed one of the gentlemen that visited the Dixie store and went with his friends and reminisced about what, that looked like for him. And it was very, very special. Miss Dixie had a paddle and she would use it. And if you got it used, you would have to sign your name. And we do have previous mayors of McKinney that their name is on that paddle.
You still have the paddle?
Yes, we still have the paddle.
But tell us more. I interrupted. Tell us more about the Dixie store itself. What can we expect to see inside there?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the dream for the Dixie store is, again, that nostalgia of that screen door opening and walking in to a room where once you would have bought little trinkets and gifts. We have Bluebell ice cream that we offer. And so Miss Dixie, one of the things that she would do, if you did well on your report card, you could bring your report card down and you would get to pick out a gift, or you would get to pick out a treat at the store. And so that's something we want to bring back, just something, the nostalgia of doing well, being honored, and just the memory of a child walking in the store. And it really doesn't take the digital devices. It just takes time and energy to walk and create something that creates a memory connected to something that shows success. And that's really what we want to do.
Like the Pizza Hut personal pan pizza for the book. Like you read a book and
so you come in with that coupon
and get the coupon.
Yeah,
oh,
absolutely.
Man. Like I'm a child of the 80s and 90s. Sorry. Like when you say that, I'm just like, oh man, it's like a cheese pizza, personal pan cheese pizza from Pizza Hut. Man.
That's right. Creates a memory, the whole story.
I can taste it now thinking about it.
But all the memorabilia inside the store.
Yeah,
right?
So we have...
How many ice cream churns do you have?
We have over 400. It was
400 ice cream churns?
Yes.
Listen, do not go in there thinking this is just going to, you don't treat it
what
like
on earth, man?
I'm going into Dillard's at the mall and just going to kind of glance. We went in there as part of we went in there. I went in there, capturing the event for Leadership McKinney, just taking pictures. And I walked in and I had to fight everything within me to just leave the group because there were so many things in there that are just from whatever age you are. If you can fog a mirror, there is something in there that is going to spark that childhood memory thing.
Yep.
And so, the ice cream churns thing was because, so that's, DeAnna was in costume. She was fully period pieced up. And when she dropped that thing, I remember I was taking pictures of her and I stopped and I started looking and I was like, 1, 2, 3. Oh, that's an ice cream churn. 4, and so I was like, focused back on my job. So it was amazing to go in there and, feeling like I'm 5, I'm 7, I'm 10, I'm all at once. You have to go. You absolutely have to go.
Well, and it's interesting because once again, that's community. I mean, that was donated to us by somebody that loved that collection and saw value in that. And so for us to be honored with it, to bring it into our, historic property and to showcase that, what an honor for us. I mean, we had a lady not long ago that had 400 quilts, and she didn't want to divvy them out. She wanted somebody to collect them and bring them to one facility and be able to curate those. And so that's what Chestnut Square is about. We're a service to the community. And so we brought them in. And when I say going back to 1700s, these things are beautiful. Wow. I mean, her love and collection that she put into that. And then we have the honor of curating it, deciding how we're going to showcase this. But I mean, ribbons from Abraham Lincoln election are in some of these quilts. I mean, it's absolutely...
You didn't point that out when we were there. So.
Wow. Man, so just thoughtfully restored and maintained and preserved, that it's like walking into a time machine.
It is. You really do feel like you have completely stepped back in time. We do docent trainings. A docent is someone that tells the story of the property. And so they go through training. But one of the things we caution them on is there is no way that it won't strike emotion as you see an old kitchen sink, or you see something that reminds you of your grandfather, or, those people that walk the journey before us. And so as we're telling our story, we always tell people, be aware that they're living their own story while they're experiencing ours. And I think that that's so valuable to be able to offer that to someone. I mean, it's amazing how healing can just be part of the day by stepping back and reflecting on what once was.
That's amazing. You literally have encapsulated all the things that I experienced at that point.
Now,
Amazing.
have you been able to keep some kind of smell? Because every time I'm in a really, really old building, every building has its own unique essence. When you walk in, it's like, yep, smells like the 1840s in here. Like, how are you guys been able to keep any of just that aromatic essence of a really old structure?
What it smelled like in 1850s, I'm not exactly sure, but
Somebody to have that in a jar.
But everybody has that. Everybody listening to this episode right now, like in your mind, you can think of what your grandmother's house smelled like. Like, I have the aroma of my grandmother's house. Like, I can smell it right now as I really think about it. Those buildings have their own essence. And I half jokingly say that because I had the privilege of meeting with a business networking group that met there on the second and fourth Thursdays. And I forget which building it was. It was a larger one-story, flat building with a wheelchair ramp on the front of it, facing kind of where the farmers market is. But every time I walked into that building, it was like, just take a full deep breath in. Just the building somehow still had that essence.
Absolutely. I think that you're right, though. I mean, we have 9 historical buildings on property, and each one offers a different experience. And there is a different smell with that encapsulates the experience when you walk in each one. And I think what's interesting for us, what we do is, most people, when you buy a home in downtown McKinney and you restore it, you're restoring it to utilize it for today.
That's right.
And so you capture the things that you can create that give the nostalgia of the building, but ultimately you're going to want a fully functioning master bath, right? Modern home, absolutely. Versus what we do is we encapsulate the time period in which it stood, which is very difficult and very costly, because when you redo a window that you want to capture the authentic wood, and you want to redo that wood to show how that space was built, and how those walls were put together to show how far we've come over the years. It's a unique process to go about that, and it's a very select group of people that understand the components of that. But from wooden nails to how the walls were orchestrated, to the smell of the building, to the people that walked in those buildings and the places that they were, some of the stories are amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So speaking of restoration, windows, you're not putting in double pane, argon filled, you're putting in glass.
Right. And restructuring that window to accommodate what the time period would have allowed that to be. So it's art. Yeah. That's art, to be able to deconstruct a window and re-put it back together. So it'd be so much easier to just go down and buy a bunch of new windows and put them in, but it would lose
pane, hand-poured glass.
Yeah,
exactly.
Right. And so, I mean, that's you're right. It's art. It's no longer a service-based, we're not going to, a modern window company.
Minus the lead paint, of course. We're not reusing lead paint.
That's exactly right.
Or asbestos in the shingles type things, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. We are going to learn from what we experienced in our past as well and apply that to today.
Yeah,
so
there's not a soda with actual cocaine in it sold in the store.
Right. But you can still get a glass bottle Coca-Cola in our store, which is nostalgic in and of itself.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. So talk about farmers market for a little bit, because a lot of people listening to this episode probably have never been to farmers market. What is it? When is it? Where is it? Because during the quote unquote off season, it's not every Saturday, right? But during most of the year, it's every single Saturday farmers market is held.
Absolutely. We've actually changed that, and we are year round. So
really?
Every Saturday, rain or shine. Now, if there's something that would be threatening for someone, dangerous weather, or storms, ice, things like that, we absolutely cancel the market for those periods of time. But it is rain or shine. When you are looking at April to December, we're 8 to 12. And then January, February, and March, we go 9 to 12. But the farmers market to me is literally the heartbeat of what McKinney is all about. It is inspiring you to try new things, to be your entrepreneur, to create and use your time, talent, and treasure, and whatever that looks like, whatever you're cultivating, down to now the community comes in and supports that. And so when you walk on the property on Saturday morning, from those standing in line to get their fresh eggs or their produce or their favorite cookies or the elderberry syrup because they want to make sure that they stay well for the season, there's just so many things that encapsulate, I think, taking responsibility for our own community and making sure that we are constantly thriving. And so the market really exudes all of that.
Logistically speaking, for those of you that haven't been, it is the coolest thing. You're in and out in 30, 45 minutes. You can stay for 2 hours if you want to.
That's me.
That's right.
But I mean, if you want to get in for a specific purpose and you want to get out, like park, walk over, grab your stuff, walk back to your vehicle, and you're gone in about as long as it takes you in a full trip to the grocery store. Yep. But if you want to mosey and enjoy your whatever little treats or whatever beverage you got, the freshly squeezed lemonade calls my name. Like I love it when I go down there and find a lemonade vendor. It's like, oh, I'm going to sip this while I walk around. Okay, let's go. But it is such a unique experience because it's not the same vendors every single week. There's a lot of the same vendors, but there's a certain variability where this week, well, that wasn't here the last time I came. And it's almost like a game of what am I going to see this time? I've only been 3 times, but I've only taken my family once, and my kids were a little bit young. So we're letting the kids get a little bit older. Allison was like, let's wait them get another year or 2 older.
I do think that it's one of those things where oftentimes if you go on vacation, you seek places like this out to go enjoy. Yet in McKinney, you could do this every single weekend.
Every Saturday.
And enjoy live music or activities for the kids or games or sit on the lawn.
Or a pony ride.
Or a pony ride. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's something there that creates an experience. And we have people that are on the property at 7:30 to get their eggs and to make sure that they are in line and ready to go. And they have all of their spots that they go. The beauty of being able to have variety is that when you apply to be a part of the market, you can choose every weekend, or you can choose, I want to be there 2 times out of the month, all year round, or I want to only come during this period of time. So we'll schedule that for you, which means that you may see certain vendors, every week, or you may see different vendors throughout based on what they have committed to and what they wanted to get out of the market.
Very cool.
I think also it's really cool that, many, many of our vendors, their livelihood is made in those 4 hours at McKinney.
That's right.
And that's what I think is really, really incredible is that we have vendors that have been with us for 15 years. They're just dedicated and they've helped us grow. When we had our storm recently, the first people on our property helping us chop down limbs and clean up was market vendors. And so, we just can't thank them enough. It's a family. It really is truly a family. And it's hopefully a family experience that we create. We partner with the McKinney Public Library, and they'll come in and read stories to kids at 10 o'clock on Saturdays. Or you can go down to the blacksmith shop and sit and watch on the first and third Saturday and watch the blacksmith create art and work in the blacksmith shop, which I think is unique. We also have our living history tour that we'll do throughout the market as well. So you can do a tour, you can buy eggs, whatever you want, or just sit on the lawn and, have a snack, which is really great too.
I'm trying to figure out where, and this was the challenge that I was there the last time, was I had a couple of conversations with local artists that have, space on the square, like where they have a small studio on the square, but they're there at Farmers Market displaying some of their work. And I'm just like, I really like this. I want to own this, but I have to figure out where I'm going to put this. And it's like, there's a couple of artists I plan on buying a piece from them, but I don't know where I'm going to put it. And Allison's like, don't you dare buy that and then figure out where you're going to put it. You need to figure out where it's going to go before you buy it. Otherwise, don't buy it.
Oh, I don't know. If it speaks to your heart, I say go for it.
I lean towards that. I lean towards that.
That's right.
But it's like, it's not just like eggs and produce and stuff. It's also, people that, make their own special candy. Like, I forget I forget what it was. I think it was one of the bigger festivals. So she may not be at Farmer's Market, but there's a lady who has a candy shop and she has freeze-dried sour Skittles. And I'll be darned if that's not the most incredible thing. Like, you stick freeze-dried sour Skittles on a bowl of vanilla ice cream. My word, that is magic in your mouth on a little dessert bowl. It's like, goodness, someone took a normal store-bought candy, did something unique to it, and created a special experience and sells them for like $18 for a bag about yay big. It's like, wow, that is cool.
Well, and I like to think that everything at the farmer's market is all made with love, so it creates great energy all around for everybody.
Yeah.
Just because, it's their passion, it's their heart, it's their love, it's what they want to do, and they, individually package and wrap with care and love, and they take special orders too. You can pre-order sometimes through the different vendors
how
as
about
well,
that? And come back the following week,
and
or
come
whenever.
back the following week.
That's
Absolutely. And so once again, community, relationship, connection. Very special.
Well, it's like, child of the 70s. I grew up, there's one episode of Gilligan's Island where a box of radiated seeds comes onto the island and they plant them and they're getting all these strange vegetables and fruits. But every time I go to the farmer's market, I swear some of those radiated seeds are somewhere in the McKinney, because I've never seen, tomatoes that look like watermelons and cucumbers that look like baseball bat. I was like, I remember, and that's my thing, is that you might be a 30-minute, I'm like a 2-hour. I show up, I'm talking to these people going, where on earth did you get this? And they're like, well, we just grow it. And I'm like, no way. Or I'll run into people that I know and just stand there and talk. And as soon as that conversation is done, I run into someone else, or someone else will walk up and they'll introduce, and all of a sudden, new friends.
Absolutely.
New friends.
Let the record show, I am also at least 90 minutes. I'm just saying, somebody, if they wanted to be in and out fast, they very easily could park, get their stuff, and go leave. It's not me either.
Yeah, I don't know who those people are.
As you can, my poor sweet wife, when she travels with me anywhere, I'm the guy who stops and looks at stuff.
That's right.
Allison will briskly go through a Smithsonian museum in D.C. I'm the guy who spends 3 hours in one museum and 15 minutes looking at one painting. It's annoying, but I can't really help myself.
Yeah, that's me. I love, all the different artisans and their crafts, things that I obviously have no skill or ability to do. I'm like, how did you weave that? How did you put that
You mean
together?
you didn't put hammer to nail and make brass jewelry?
Yeah. No.
I thought that was in your skill set, Fred.
Right. Or the people who will, arrange 3,000 nails in a circle and then just weave back and forth. And then, they make a picture out of that.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
How did you do that?
DeAnna, we have about 5 minutes left of your
absolutely.
recording here. I want to ask about Leadership McKinney, because that program is near and dear to my heart. RiskWell, our company, we're the title sponsor presenting sponsor, not title sponsor, presenting sponsor for next year's class, and hopefully for forever, for the foreseeable future. Like, kind of like Nate Pike used to be with his Wells Fargo practice back when he was mayor of Anna, and he was the sponsor for several years in a row. It's like, sorry, everybody else, I'm the sponsor now. I'm not giving this thing up for a while. Leadership McKinney is a really, really special program. What was it about the program that made you want to put your name in the hat? You obviously were selected for last year's class. You graduated as a class of 2025, the greatest class ever.
Absolutely.
Every class jokingly refers to themselves as the best class ever, which, of course, we're the COVID class. So we're 2020 was our year.
The COVID class
Our
ever.
little thing was clearly the best class ever, because 2020 was perfect vision. We thought we were so clever. But then COVID happened and we realized, oh, well, now we're unique for a different way. We will forever be known as the COVID class. But yeah, Leadership McKinney 2025. Why did you throw your name in the hat? What made you want to get in there?
So I had just started my position at Chestnut Square and was meeting a lot of amazing people in McKinney. And that was a hot topic at the time because applications were underway and people were moving in that direction. And so many people said, you need to do Leadership McKinney. And so I honestly did not know exactly what I was doing at the time, to be completely honest. They were like, oh, do it fill out the application. If you don't get chosen, you'll get next year. And I'm thinking, I'm starting a brand new job. I am so overwhelmed with managing events and farmers market and museum. I'm like, you know what? If you pick me for next year, that'd be great. And I got chosen for this year. And then what I realized was the blessing in all that was it really wasn't about Chestnut Square. I really thought at first that this was, a good networking opportunity for me to share the story of Chestnut Square. But what I rather learned was that it was really about my individual leadership and my individual growth and prompting thought into me internally and motivation. And so it really spoke to me in a way different perspective than I anticipated it. The relationships, walking the journey with people, being open to your community and understanding all the different intricacies of what makes a community great, I think was something that was a huge blessing for me just to be able to capture and see. And I found myself wanting to be quiet and just observe and soak it all in and not overthink where it was supposed to go or what it was supposed to offer. And so I think the reward in that was just organically allowing it to happen, and the relationships that came and went and have been really incredible. And again, it was a personal reflection of how you can improve daily and be a better leader, and honestly a servant leader, and making sure that just in the small things that we do, from opening the door for someone up to, running for an office. I mean, there's leadership in all of that.
Man, Fred, you don't really have any idea what we're talking about, do you? No, because you haven't been in yet. We're in the club, Fred.
I haven't been through it, but I have photographed it.
You have put your app in, so hopefully you will get to be in the club.
Yeah. So if there are people who are on the decision-making part of Leadership McKinney,
bro,
I'll be your reference.
You are as much of a shoo-in as anyone could possibly be a shoo-in.
I try to keep it humble. I know some of the
former
other people
small
who applied.
business of the year. Literally everybody who's on that committee. You've probably photographed everyone who's on that committee. Your wife just finished it. If you don't get in, I don't know. I don't see any. You might as well tell me the sky is purple, but royal purple.
I've seen some of the other. I've talked to some of the other people who said, "Oh yeah, I applied," and I was like, "Oh."
There's 35 seats, right?
Yeah, there are.
But I did hear they had 75 applications for 35 seats.
Oh.
So, and sorry, but you don't apply to be in leadership unless you're already doing something that is relevant.
Yeah, well, I'm sitting here amongst the greats. And even greater now,
I don't know about that.
Wow.
I mean, maybe someday great. I certainly don't claim that, but yeah, thank you for speaking that affirmation.
No, absolutely.
Someday maybe I'll be great, but yeah, it's so cool to hear your perspective there. Do you mind, as we wrap this thing up, what was one standout memory of your time in Leadership McKinney?
That's a great question. There's so many that really stand out to me.
Yeah.
I think that I would say just making the time to be quiet and allow yourself to learn through the vision and these stories of others is really powerful. And so I would say collectively, it was hearing all the stories and being able to develop those authentic relationships through those stories, and finding that you have connection with people. Sometimes we create stories in our head that are so not even true.
That's right.
And so being able to hold those accountable through pause and through just allowing yourself to stop life long enough to just embrace something new, I think is very, very special. Whether that's your trip to Austin, whether that's your SimSoc experience, whether that is, any of those moments that kind of happen to you, it's just living life through that moment without overthinking and just allowing it to kind of come to you.
And be quiet. As a theater person, be quiet.
Yes, right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because as a theater director, I'm often teaching and instructing and creating that value for the experience. And so it was nice to sit back and allow that experience to be created for me personally from a leadership perspective.
How about that?
Yeah. I don't often find myself crying in public. The SimSoc experience brought a lot of strong emotions out from several of us in that room. And I'm not going to spoil anything
No,
for
not at
anybody. I'm
all.
not going to say a word, but yeah, that was one of two moments in my year when I was not like alligator tears, ugly crying, but it was just like real tears coming down the cheeks of the just the raw emotion of realizing the implications of that simulated society. SimSoc is what stands for Simulated Society every January. So man, oof. And you can participate as a member of the community. There's an open invitation to be in the SimSoc. You don't have to be in leadership to participate in that SimSoc activity. It's a pretty cool thing there. So if you're not doing anything in January of 26, you should definitely look forward to being in SimSoc. So hey, call to action. Anything that you want to drop before Fred hits you with the final question that we ask everybody? Anything you want the audience to be thinking of or acting on?
I just think that leadership can be in all the small things that we do in life. It doesn't have to be big. I think sometimes we think it needs to be big and bold and it needs to be in front of a lot of people. And the reality is some of the best leadership is just quiet and, where very few people actually see. And I think if we all collectively come together as neighbors and make that happen in the small things, it will continue to move McKinney in the direction that it's supposed to move, which is great and open to all and caring and loving. I think that Chestnut Square is a true heartbeat of McKinney. It's where we are reflected as our beginnings, and it's something that whether you're doing a wedding or an activity or your farmer's market or you're experiencing history, it's something that brings a special moment to someone's life. So thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely love it. Now, is there a waiting list for the farmer's market?
Yes,
There
absolutely.
is.
I bet it's a long waiting list.
It is a very long list.
Yes.
Absolutely.
But the only way to get to the farmer's market is get on the list.
That's exactly right.
Okay, so you heard it here first. All righty, DeAnna. No wrong answers.
Okay.
Who would win in a fight between a great white shark, let's say 18 feet, versus a polar bear, 12 feet tall? They're in a body of water, 6 feet deep, of infinite dimensions. There's no shore, there's no bank, there's no dry land anywhere. Great white shark, polar bear. Who wins?
The shark?
Oh, really? Why is that?
She wasn't too sure about that answer. She threw it out with a question mark at the end.
I'm thinking shark because there's no gravity limitations.
The shark is buoyant, so doesn't fall down.
But yeah, but
Well,
the pool's
what?
only 6 feet deep, though. Keep in
No,
mind.
do not taint the answer.
Well, it's because it's not a buoyancy thing. The body of water is only 6 feet deep.
That's
the
true.
polar bear can stand up. Don't forget.
So he's campaigning for the polar bear.
No, I'm just making sure she understands the parameters of the
That's
question.
true. If I do think of it that way, in terms of there's a bottom to that,
The
then
shark
would
can't
be
attack from
compromised.
underneath.
Yeah, the shark might be compromised in that 6 feet of water.
Uh-huh.
Let's
So
just wait.
that is very true. The shark might be compromised. So, man,
Where are you going to land? It's totally your choice. There's valid reasons on both sides, for sure.
I'm going to really trust my gut on this one and go with pause and say, you know what? Don't second guess yourself. Go with the shark. So I'm going to
Okay.
stay strong with the shark.
Okay.
Man. All right. So.
There you go.
And no right or wrong answer. So, it's just
Hey,
like-
Team Shark has another member.
That's right.
Here we go.
I learned in standing strong in my gut in leadership McKinney.
Yeah,
So.
yes, you did. Man, one of these days we are going to have because we can ask the question on the front end, hey, what's your t-shirt size? And then simply hand it out at the episode and hand them a McKinney Podcast t-shirt that's the logo on the front, and on the back it just says Team Shark or Team Polar Bear.
Yes, I love that idea.
I absolutely love that. That should be part of your sponsorship with Leadership
Yeah,
McKinney, no doubt.
it
Yeah,
really
absolutely.
should.
That
Yeah.
should be a question you ask all of them, and then they can carry out.
Watch them sweat.
Yeah.
No, you know what? If all we do over the next year, and obviously I'm joking because that's not what we're going to do, but if we had like miniature episodes where we had 2 or 3 members of leadership class of 2026, and we did that as a regular part of our content calendar beginning in, say, September, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that would be fun.
Or by the time we get done with the class, every single member of the class has had their spotlight moment
That's
on
right.
the McKinney Podcast.
That's right.
Yeah. And you're creating your memorable experience around your question, which is amazing. So
Love
go
it.
for it.
Awesome. DeAnna Stone, this has been a real pleasure.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Folks, I'm going to tell you right now, if you haven't been to Chestnut Square, if you haven't been to the farmer's market, get your butt over there. What are you doing? It doesn't get any more McKinney than that. And that should be on a t-shirt. Chestnut Square. It doesn't get any more McKinney than this.
That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah, good deal. Everybody, he's Fred. I'm James. This has been another episode of the McKinney Podcast, celebrating what makes us unique by nature. See you next time, folks.